place makes me wonder.
Yeah, what's that, boss?
Which would be worse? To live as a monster? Or to die as a good man?
Uneasiness. It is something that audience should carry after watching a thriller. I am currently writing a thriller, and the techniques that I am using here are mostly from Shutter Island. I studied that film and learned some amazing things which are actually helping me out to make an amazing short film. So in this video, I am just sharing those techniques with you. Shutter Island is a story of self acceptance. Now, self acceptance is a philosophical idea, and for an idea, it is not necessary to always be philosophical. It can be anything from a scene to a dialogue. Once you have an idea, search for a conflict which is going to be the base of the overall storyline of your film. And it would be better if you have a subjective problem as a core conflict of your story, because in real life, whatever we see, from a war to a street fight, those are just manifestations of people's inner desires and fears. So we will first create an inner conflict and then its manifestations in the real world. In the case of Shutter Island, the core conflict we have is guilt. Having a conflict and an idea will make things simpler to write down a character, because now we know that our character has guilt from which he is running rather than facing it and forgiving himself. Now we're gonna do a simple session of common sense questioning to find a proper reason for the guilt that our character has. Now the first question here is the obvious one. Why our character feeling this guilt? Maybe he killed his wife to whom he loved. But why would someone do something like that? Maybe she killed their children. Why would she do that? Maybe she was mentally ill. Killing her own children means she had a concerning mental health problem. So why then they did not do anything regarding it? Maybe she or someone else warned him, but he just ignored it because he loved her so much. I think that's the reason he feels guilty, that he could have stopped it, but he didn't. Now we have a proper reason and the background of our character's inner conflict, which is going to be the base and the core of our overall storyline. As I told you that we will first create an inner conflict and then its manifestations in the real world. So we already did the half work. We created an inner conflict. Now it's time to show its manifestations in the outer world. This is the point where you can take this story anywhere. You can make a rom-com out of it, or horror, or thriller, literally anything. All you have to do is create an outer world and then just put your character in it. In Shutter Island, just shows us that Andrew creates an alternate identity and a story to keep himself busy so that he could avoid facing the truth. Because in this case, in the outer world, Andrew end up in a mental facility where he can't do much to run from his past. Now remember one thing, if you are using this system to make a film, then you are by default will end up writing a subjective story, which means that our story here very much depends on our character and his perspective. So treat him like a real human, and humans are complicated. So use this complexity of human mind to create different narratives. For example, in Shutter Island, Andrew also have some traumatizing memories from the war which are not directly connected with our story, but those are also used in film just to create different narratives.
You should have saved me. You should have saved all of us.
Basically, we just need to create an outline of major events in our story, which will help to create different engaging narratives. So let's understand this by the example of Shutter Island. In the beginning, when Teddy and Chuck just land on the island, the guards there are on edge, because we know that Teddy is just a patient playing his story. But people who are watching it first time will think that something is wrong with this island, because the shot is taken by the perspective of Teddy. So this scene helps to build suspense, which helps to generate audience interest in the story at the very beginning. Second major event is the first dream sequence of Teddy. When movie starts on the boat, Teddy told that he had a wife who died in an apartment fire. Then that dream scene basically just shows us that he is trying to hold her rather than accepting that she is gone. Third major event is the one where Teddy told that he came on this island because a patient named George Noyce told him that there may be experiments going on this island, but Chuck said that maybe they took you here because you were asking questions. In this scene, audience gets their first clear narrative regarding the unusualness of the island. Fourth major event happened in Watsy, where Teddy met George. Their conversation almost confirmed that the facility is using this island for experiment on human mind, and Teddy's trauma regarding his wife is holding him back from knowing the truth. He must let her go to uncover the truth. Fifth major event happened when Teddy met real Rachel Solondo inside that cave. That scene was so convincing that everybody watching the film first time believes that the facility is experimenting on people and creates a tension that how our protagonist is going to escape and expose the island, and this scene is the reason why we feel that impact and uneasiness at the end after knowing that he is just a patient and all of this is just an fairy tale. Sixth major point is the disappearance of Chuck that helps to build the tension and give reason to our protagonist to let go his trauma and face the truth to save his friend. And then also the whole climax is of course a major event. So you can also create an outline of major events in your story before writing the actual script, because this way you will have an overall idea of what you are going to do. The base and the outline is enough to start writing an actual script, but I add this third point as a suggestion because detailing makes a huge difference and it is important to understand its importance, especially when our protagonist is that complicated. Attention to detail makes the experience natural and engaging for people watching it second, third time. If you have watched Shutter Island more than one time, then you must have catch so many tiny details that makes this film memorable. But we are going to shed light on those which are essential from the storytelling perspective. First time when Teddy goes into the facility and met Dr. Cowley, he told him that his patient Rachel Solondo is missing, who has created her own world and she killed her children. When she returned, she also called Teddy her husband. Now people who are watching the film first time obviously not going to understand the true intention of this. But Martin Scorsese still did this because you have to be honest with your story. It is after all a treatment, not any investigation. This decision actually adds depth to the story. In Teddy's dreams, his wife asks him to kill Andrew Ladies, but we know that he is Andrew Ladies and she is just a manifestation of his thoughts, which means that Andrew deep down know that he is the killer of her and he still have that guilt. Again, it doesn't bring anything for fresh viewer but provides a depth to the story and shows how amazing director is Martin Scorsese. Beside this, he has also used symbols like water, fire, tie, but I think you got the point. Detailing is very important. So that's it. I shared my observation with you and you could use this if you also like subjective or character driven storytelling. I am currently using it for my short film which I would share on this channel. So stay tuned for that, and if you are still watching this video, really thank you. It means a lot to me, and have a nice day. Bye.